Sarah Parker Remond is the only recorded black woman who signed the first women's suffrage petition presented before Parliament. She was an American who became a naturalised British citizen. There might have been other black women too, since there were black people in the early 20th century, but their participation and/or ethnic background have not been recorded in the movement. Sarah Parker Remond was born in Salem, Massachusetts in 1826 to freed black people, and thus her activism began in the USA. Her father immigrated from Curacao to Massachusetts with his family when he was 10. Her parents were financially successful as they built a business empire that included catering, provisioning, and hairdressing. However, Remond and her family faced racism. When her parents tried to place their children in a private school, they were rejected because they were black. When Remond and her sisters were accepted into an integrated high school, they were expelled because the school's committee wanted to create a separate school for African Americans. Remond described years later on how this affected her greatly. She wrote, "Years have elapsed since this occurred, but the memory of it is as fresh as ever in my mind, engraved on my heart." In 1835, the family moved to Newport, Rhode Island, hoping the environment would be less racist, but the schools refused to accept black students. As a result, some influential African Americans set up their own schools in which Remond and her siblings were educated. In 1841, the family moved back to Salem, and Sarah Remond became self-educated, attending lectures, reading every book, newspaper, and pamphlet borrowed from friends or the local anti-slavery society. Must I add though, growing up, her parents also provided their children with educational materials such as books, anti-slavery literature, and newspapers such as The Liberator and the National Anti-Slavery Standard, as well as newspapers published by freed black people, such as Freedom's Journal, Rights of All, The Weekly Advocate, The Colored American, The Mirror of Liberty, and The North Star, which were also found in their shops. In 1842, when she was 16 years old, she delivered her first anti-slavery lecture. Her whole family was also committed to the abolitionist movement, with other siblings giving lectures, being part of anti-slavery societies, and had connections with other black families across northeastern cities. Black and white abolitionists would frequently visit their home, and it was also a safe haven for fugitive slaves. The Remond siblings were ruled by love rather than fear, and along with household duties taught them to seek liberty in a lawful manner and to oppose injustice in every form. They were taught to seek strength from their souls, and to be black was no crime but an accident of birth. This allowed Sarah to seek equality on several occasions. For example, on May 4, 1853, Sarah, her sister Caroline, and African-American journalist William C. Nell presented their tickets to the doorkeeper at the Howard Athenaeum in Boston. They purchased tickets for the family circle seats to hear Madame Henriette Sontag in the opera Don Pasquale. Sarah and her friends were given the customary checks. When they quietly went for their seats, Mr. A. Palmer, the manager of the opera house, refused them their seats. C.P. Philbrick, a police officer at the theatre, was called and ordered the party out. They were told that they could get their money back or take seats in the gallery. They refused. Philbrick tried to push Sarah down the stairs, ripping her dress and injuring her shoulder. Sarah brought a legal claim against the treatment, and Palmer and Philbrick were brought before the police court. A lawyer, Charles G. Davis, appeared for Miss Remond. She was given a small sum of $500, which was smaller than what Remond was suing for, but she did not accept it because her objective was not to make money from the suit, but to vindicate a right. Justice Russell, the judge, provided an opinion in the case, fully sustaining the equal rights of our colored citizens. This was a milestone, once again achieved by a Remond to the freedom of black people. Between 1856 and 1858, Sarah addressed several anti-slavery meetings in New York, Massachusetts, Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. After 2 years of lecturing American audiences, Sarah, accompanied by the Reverend Samuel Joseph May of Syracuse, left Boston on December 28, 1858, for Liverpool via Halifax with the ship Arabia. The trip was not the greatest, as Samuel May described the ship that got covered in snow and ice 3 days after being at sea, and many passengers became sick. The ship arrived in Liverpool on January 12, 1859. Sarah's first lecture was in Liverpool at the Tuckerman Institute. She captivated the audience by illustrating the atrocities of slavery, which brought tears to their eyes. She concluded her lecture with an earnest appeal for the moral and religious sympathy and influence of free England in the abolition movement. Sarah's voice was described as clear and musical, and she had at her command a great flow of language. She lectured on anti-slavery across cities in northern England, Scotland, and Ireland. She studied at Bedford College for Women and spoke out on abolition, anti-racism, and feminism. She then enrolled in University College London, where she trained as a nurse. On January 25, 1859, her second lecture, which was in Warrington, a town between Liverpool and Manchester, was met with crowds so huge that admission was charged at 6p for reserved seats and 2p for. Her second lecture was described as a soul-stringing address, where she further depicted the wrongs of slavery. The ladies of Warrington gifted her an elegant silver watch. Sarah was very happy that she tearfully thanked them. The mayor of Warrington stated that he hoped other towns would pattern themselves after Warrington, and that wherever Miss Remond went, she would realise the fact that there was not an individual in the United Kingdom who had not a strong interest in the slave. She lectured for the next 3 years on the abolition of slavery. When trying to visit France in 1859, the American embassy denied her visa, questioning her American citizenship. The excuse they gave was that black people were not considered full citizens. This caused a press scandal and motivated Sarah to apply for British citizenship. In 1863, Sarah Remond and other suffragettes founded the Ladies' London Emancipation Society. This was the first national anti-slavery society for women. Regional anti-slavery societies have predated, such as the Edinburgh Ladies' Emancipation Society and the Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society. During the American Civil War, she lectured in Britain in support of the Union. After the war, she lectured to raise funds for the newly freed slaves. In 1865, when she was 41 years old, her application for citizenship explained that she had lived in London for 6 years, wanted to be able to buy property, and that this was where her most intimate friends reside. They included key activists from the period with whom she helped found the Ladies' London Emancipation Society. She described herself as of African descent and a native of Salem, Massachusetts in the United States of America, but that under no circumstances she could return to live in America again because of the strong prejudice against persons of African descent, which is entertained by a large proportion of the inhabitants of the United States, and the social disabilities under which such persons consequently suffer. Referees for Remond's application included lawyer Matthew Davenport Hill and politician Sir James Stanfield, who attested to her good character. She was granted citizenship on September 11, 1865. In 1866, Remond was among the 1,500 women and possibly the only black woman who signed the first women's suffrage petition in Great Britain. It was a woman's only petition, and it was shared before Parliament. On their behalf, John Stuart Mill, philosopher, Member of Parliament and prominent abolitionist, moved an amendment to the 1866 Reform Bill calling for the inclusion of women on the same terms as men. He was unsuccessful, but it prompted women to start up societies to campaign for women's rights. In the same year, she returned to the USA and she joined the American Equal Rights Association. Sarah did face discrimination in Britain, but it was different from the constant open prejudice she was faced in the USA. The reason why she left Britain is because she grew disillusioned, particularly after she heard about the brutal treatment and executions of black protesters in the Morant Bay Rebellion in Jamaica. Her stay in the USA was also a very short one. In 1867, she moved to Florence, Italy, where she studied medicine at the Santa Maria Nuova Hospital School. This was one of the most prestigious schools in Europe. She graduated in 1868, as the duration for studying medicine was way shorter at the time. Years later, she moved to Rome, and her sisters Caroline and Maricha joined her from the USA. Frederick Douglass also met the three women whilst visiting Rome in 1886. On April 25, 1877, Sarah married Lazzaro Pintor, an Italian office worker originally from Sardinia. Sarah Parker Remond died on December 13, 1894. Her husband died in 1913. They had no children together, but her legacy has been preserved, even though she's not very well known. In 1999, the Massachusetts State House honored 6 outstanding women of the state by installing a series of 6 tall marble panels with a bronze bust in each. The busts are of Remond and 5 other women. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.